York's classic rock. Q1043.
Well, he's a 5-time Grammy winner. His last album, Morning Phase, won Album of the Year. His new album's coming out in October. A man whose music I've played 4 different radio stations over the past 20 years. His name is Beck. How are you, man?
Good. How are you?
Very good.
Yeah,
20 years I've been playing your music on the radio on
Amazing.
4 different radio stations.
Wow.
And it's interesting how things go these days. You did this earlier in your career.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you make an album, you release a single, you wait a few months, and then you put out the album.
Right.
But people's habits obviously have changed, especially in the last 5 years. You won the the album of the year in 2015. You released a single later that year, and then another single last year. And it's just some bands don't even release albums anymore.
I know.
Right? Yeah, it's just
It's very fluid right now.
Yeah.
You know, music is just coming, and is it an album? Is it a song? You know, it's all fluid, and ultimately, at the end of the day, the song matters the most.
Right, exactly.
You know?
A long time ago, you did spend some time here in New York City, and I'm wondering, 20 years has passed or more since then. Is there anything that you look back on that was that you enjoyed, that was good for you, songwriting wise, experience wise, music business wise, or whatever? Because I know you came and then you went back to LA.
Yep.
And it was like the anti-folk movement, I believe, and the Sidewalk Cafe. Maybe you even played there. I don't even know.
New York was a little rougher back then.
Yeah.
It's a little more family friendly.
Yeah, it is now, definitely.
Yeah. New York pressed a gigantic eject button on me.
Right. Yeah,
and,
that's what I was reading.
Sent me sailing out of here. But someday I'd love to come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ever play CBGBs?
I didn't. I hung out a bit. It was going through a different time at that point. You know?
Yeah.
And I didn't have a band at the time. I was playing solo. So.
Right. Yeah.
But,
it's Beck in the studio with us.
Yeah.
Have you had a break at all from the studio? Because I know you are notorious for, doing a bunch of shows, coming back to your studio in LA and going back out on the show.
I feel like I'm looking at pictures of everyone else on vacation.
I feel that way
and
too.
And I've been locked in a studio for years, if not on a tour bus touring. My year tends to revolve around touring in the summer, in the fall, and then winter, spring, I'm in the studio.
Right, yeah.
Round the clock.
I've been reading a lot about how you sort of, from the live shows, the experience, interaction with the fans, the dancing, the fun, the rock and roll atmosphere, you get inspiration for that.
Absolutely.
When you go back into the studio, sort of continue that energy.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's been the approach with this record. Yeah. And certain other records, like Odelay or Wero,
Yeah.
Those were very inspired by the tours we were on.
Right. What is it is it just like this, the energy you get? It's like you want to continue that party vibe, that, group thing?
Yeah, it's an interesting relationship because you're out there with the audience and, you get reminded about what it's about. Why are we doing this? Oh yeah, this is what it's about. And then it gives, for me, it gave me the feeling of, well, I want songs that give you that feeling, whatever that is. It's something slightly, it's there's not really a word for it, that's why you write songs for it,
I would venture to say that the feeling of thousands of people singing your lyrics back to you never gets old.
That's very surreal.
Yeah, right.
And it's interesting. It's more common now than it was when I started. It was, but the audience was a little more, I don't know. It's maybe it's just my memory, but over the years it's increased,
Yeah.
Which is really keeps me inspired to move forward. And
you're doing some touring with U2 this fall, so that must be something you're looking forward to. But this isn't the first time you've toured with a really huge band. The Stones, Tom Petty and the Police, and their shows are like what you were sort of describing. It's 2 hours or more of songs everyone knows that are still played on the radio. They're still played on the internet.
Yeah.
And Beck the catalog of Beck is getting to that point now.
It's got a ways to go when you list those names, but that, playing with those artists, it's always, that's what this is all about. You get, I've been inspired by them and to see their shows and how those songs have this life live because they've been so a part of people's lives for so long. And it's very, it definitely puts everything in perspective. There's so much minutia. There's so much kind of ridiculous aspects to the music business. And then you get it and you see the Police reunited playing one of these iconic songs and the feeling in the crowd. You're like, oh, if that's why we're doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what this is all about. Okay.
Yeah.
And I try to keep that perspective. It's like this perspective that stands outside time and decades and is kind of just gets to the heart of what this all is.
When you were on some of those tours with these artists we just mentioned, is there one sort of crazy anecdote that stands out to you where you said, I can't believe I'm sitting next to and talking about...
Yeah. Oh, I've had many of those. Yeah. I mean, my fair share. But, like when we were with the Police, I remember coming off stage, we were in Santiago, Chile.
Oh, wow.
And it was maybe 80,000 people. I mean, I couldn't even see
Soccer
the end
stadium,
of it.
right?
Yeah. And the audience was really warm for us. You know how it is opening up. Sometimes
Yeah,
I've played to empty seats.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Sure, before, but and coming off, and we're out in the field, and I'm coming off the stage and can't really see, and it's dark, and then all of a sudden, I feel something pick up my whole body, and I'm levitated up into the air, and it's Sting, who's picked me up with one hand, with one arm, hugged me, and then sort of released me in this sort of balletic movement.
Oh my God.
And it just sort of all happened. It was little moments like that,
Oh, absolutely. Beck is in the studio with us, and we're going to talk about his new album. Getting back to you too, you had a conversation with Bono about this producer, Jack Knife Lee, I believe, who kind of worked with you on some of this new music?
No, it was Greg Kirsten.
Greg Kirsten,
yes.
Right. Yeah.
So Greg, he played in my band years ago. We did a little tour. And I've been really lucky over the years to have all these musicians who've kind of played with me and this growing family. I have this extended family of musicians.
He was your keyboard player back in the day, right?
Yeah, he played keyboards with me, and then he went off to start producing, and he's done all right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wrote a song called Hello.
Yeah, Adele, my God.
And I was in the room we were working that day when he got the call that his song was on the record and it was going to be the single. But so I'm really happy for him, and he's one of my favorite people in the world, and we have such a good time. I try to book time with him just so we can hang out. We're supposed to be writing songs, but we spend half the time. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was going to say that's a big part of why this record took a while.
Well, yeah. So when I first heard Dear Life from this new album, the piano at the beginning, it kind of reminded me of Martha, My Dear, the Beatles.
Yeah.
Were the Beatles kind of...
I was probably thinking that.
Invading your soul a little bit for this?
Yeah, sort of, it's in that kind of realm of Kinks, Beatles, by way of Elliott Smith, or, Yeah, I love that crossover, that kind of English,
Yeah.
It's sort of this, English 60s thing by way of like music hall or something.
Yeah, exactly. Here on Q104.3's Out of the Box, Jonathan Clark in the studio with Beck. So Up All Night from the new album, is this maybe inspired from never leaving the studio, or what is inspiring this song?
A lot of these songs, they just sort of come through, and I think the feeling of the song was inspired somewhere between Brazilian music meets like the early 80s Clash, you know?
Yeah,
the Clash were doing kind of dance songs to, you know, a whole lot of things, you know? I think the Clash and the Stones were kind of a big influence on that song.
Right. Miss You, maybe, or...
Yeah, just that feeling of, you know, it's a little bit dirty in summer and...
Yeah.
You're, you know, all night.
Right.
You know?
Beck is in the studio with us. His new album is coming out this October. He's going to do some dates with U2 this fall. I got to ask you about the song Wow, which I played a lot on this show. Yeah. Really, really, I mean, it just jumps out of the radio at you. The first time I heard it. Yeah. It's a weird song, but it's a really cool song. I want to ask you about your kids because they were in the video, right?
Yeah, well, they were in the they came by the studio, and it wasn't a song I was planning on releasing. It was just something I did. You know, I think we were working on Dreams at the time, and I came up with that little keyboard part, the little flute part, and I think that's a song. And then we just for 4 hours did the song, you know, quickly, and they heard it somehow when we were working, and they said, "Dad, you have to put that on."
Right, yeah.
And I said, "Really? People like this? Really?" You know, I just thought it was kind of one of those experiments you just put in you put away for a rainy day. And
are they on the track? Are they saying,
they're not.
Wow?
No, that's me.
Okay. Oh, that's you.
That's me.
Because it sounds like kids.
Yeah. You know, I do my best, you know.
But they are in the video. That must have been a blast for them, right? I mean.
They had a good time, I think. Yeah.
So we're going to play it right now. It's brand new music from Beck. His new album's coming out this fall. He's on tour with U2. Hopefully he's going to come back and play his proper show in New York City. So thank you very much, Beck. I really appreciate it. And thank you. Thank you for all the music for the last 20 years, man.
Thanks for playing it.
You got it.
Yeah.
New York's classic rock, Q1043.